Tashmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dharati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Suyata
Manobhishtam
Parakamanam
Sthapi
Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagaritam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kantara Kantana Mostate Jayatam Surito Pango Mama Maner Matergati Matsavasha Paramboja Radha Ramadana Mohanam Sriman Rasa Rasaram Vibhamsi Beta Karsan Venersan Upago Gopanatas Sriyasanam Dibyad Benindaranya Kapadrumada Srimad Radnagada Shimastanasto Sri Sri Radha Shuddha Govindra Prestadavi He Sevi Manushamarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chadikari Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayodhira Nashtapriyasho Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Utamashoki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtahi Nikama Kaupaduragaritam Palam Shukamakanam Mita Javi Samitam Pivata Bhagavatam Rashamahara Rishika Bhuvigam Namaom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Shamitanam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sanyavadi Paskadade Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. We are at the beginning of another exciting transcendental week with Rob on Zoom. Over here to my left is John Malik, the first one to jump on Facebook. Vaishnavi Devi Dasi, welcome. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to Govinda Dev, to Brent Spencer, and Vaibhavi Devi Dasi, and to all those who might be joining us during the course of the talk. We chose our topic today as the elevator of bhakti. And we talked last week about how when devotees are cheated, when devotees are cursed, when devotees are criticized, when devotees are ignored or neglected, when devotees are even in the verge of being killed, like Ambarish, like Prahlad Maharaj, they don't lift a finger to retaliate because they recognize, just like Gajendra was forced to acknowledge, in this world, there are all kinds of crocodiles. You cannot avoid the crocodiles of life. The crocodiles of life, the critics, the backstabbers, the cursors, the potential murderers, are tools that Krishna uses to get us into a transcendental state of mind. There are always going to be crocodiles. There are always going to be people with biting words, trying to get their jaws, get their teeth into us to provoke a reaction, to drag us down to their level, to cause us to scream in agony and pain and self-pity and recriminations. And the devotees, the true devotees, they take it all as Krishna's mercy. In the midst of all of that, they smile to themselves. They smile to themselves. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Yudhi Taraga Raja Vidumarsha Kachata Lalita Shmaravala Rankate Mamani Shitashriyari Kavachit Stu Krishna Atma. Bhisma was facing Krishna on the battle of Kurukshetra. Bhisma was rushing to kill Arjuna, and in return, Krishna lifted a chariot wheel and went at Bhisma. Krishna was punctured. Krishna's transcendental body had the arrows of Bhisma in him. He had dust on his body. He had blood flowing. He had dropped his outer cloth out of anxiety for the safety of his devotee, Arjuna. It seemed like Krishna had lost himself. He had become a man possessed in a kind of a trance-like state out of concern for the safety and well-being of his devotee. And in such a state, Krishna picked up the chariot wheel and rushed towards Bhisma. At that time, it would seem inappropriate And Bhishma smiled. the, the, imagine the tenseness there. There's the battles in full-blown progress, millions of soldiers, blood, gore, smells, urine, stool, death, severed limbs. In the middle of all that, Bhishma is pressing against Arjuna. He's almost got Arjuna where he can dispatch him. Kṛṣṇa himself, God, loses it, you might say, quote unquote, out of concern for his devotee. And devotees are in Kṛṣṇa's heart, and Kṛṣṇa is in the heart of the devotees. So when his devotee Arjuna was in mortal danger, that was the core of Kṛṣṇa's heart. Arjuna is in the core of his heart. And so Kṛṣṇa puts aside everything and becomes single-mindedly concerned with the protection of Arjuna, even to the point of breaking his own promise to not pick up arms. In all of that, Bhishma is smiling. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Kṛṣṇa is coming to kill Bhishma, and Bhishma is smiling. This is the imperturbability of devotees. And Kṛṣṇa himself also, it's described that as Bhishma's arrows were penetrating his transcendental body, he felt them with a sense of pleasure. He felt pleasure. The example is given by Prabhupada that when lovers are enjoying each other's company, sometimes they bite each other. And from an anatomical point of view, physiological point of view, you get bitten. It's a painful thing. And yet, in the exchange of affection, a bite is not experienced as painful. It's experienced as pleasurable. So it just back and forth between Bhishma and Kṛṣṇa, there's something extraordinary going on there, which we can hardly penetrate, being ordinary people subject to the hot and cold, honor and dishonor, happiness and distress. We can hardly understand the level of consciousness that Bhishma and Kṛṣṇa, his Supreme Lord, are on at this point in time. That when everything around you is mayhem, when everybody around you is full of violence and anger, in the middle of all that, there's an oasis of peace. There's a place of serenity, and that is in the heart of the devotee. And how we need this detachment in this day and age. You can only go on Facebook or Instagram for 5 seconds before your mind is disturbed by all the things that are going on externally. So unless we go in to where Kṛṣṇa is seated within the heart, pravishtam karnanam shanam dunati sanam salalashayata sara. Kṛṣṇa consciousness in a world that is full of perturbation, a world which is rife with triggers to put you in a state of anxiety and stress. Kṛṣṇa consciousness acts like the autumnal rains on a pool of water. Throughout the summer, the pools and reservoirs of water get muddy by the sediment that's on the bottom rises, and the waters are not clear. They're opaque. You can't see through the waters. They're muddy. But when the autumnal rains fall upon the surface of these various reservoirs of water, the effect of the autumnal rains is that the sediment sinks to the bottom and the waters themselves become crystal clear. You can now see several feet through the water to the bottom of the pond, whatever rocks or fish might be there. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna consciousness to fix the mind in the eternal truths of the soul, the service of the soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards protection to his devotees. These thoughts and the practices of bhakti, chanting, taking prasadam, associating with devotees, act like the autumnal rain on the pool of water. The anxiety, the stress is extricated out, filtered out, and one can understand certain basic truths, the result of which one can prioritize, simplify one's life. and ply these turbulent waters of the Kali Yuga age with contentness, peace, and calm. Krishna has only asked us to do 4 things. If you do these 4 things, then everything else will come. There's no need to complicate things. There's no need to have a to-do list as long as your arm. Krishna's got a 4-point program for living your best life now, and at the end of life, transferring your eternal spiritual self back home, back to God. Manmana, bhava madbhakti, mavjigi, mam namaskashu, mami vashisi satyam te pratijana. Krishna assures, he gives his own personal guarantee as the Supreme Personality of God, that if you just do these 4 simple and pleasurable things, you will become very dear to me. And at the time of leaving this body, without any trouble, without any fuss, without any muss, without any stressor, you'll simply be transferred back to home, back to God. Manmana, think of me. Mad Baba, worship me. Mami Vasisi Satyam Te Pradijana. Manmana Baba, Majigi Mamna, bow down before me. Offer your obeisances, think of me, become my devotee. One time someone asked Prabhupada in Australia, what do you Hare Krishnas do for recreation? Prabhupada said, say what? And what do you do for fun, for recreation? Prabhupada looked to some of his disciples that were on the left. Prabhupada looked to some of his disciples on the right and said, like, where is this guy coming from? And then he looked back at the guy and he says, it's all recreation. Didn't you notice? We're up at 4:30 in the morning singing and dancing, and we sit down and we discuss in a friendly mood the philosophy of the absolute truth, and we have breakfast. We go about various services according to our talents and aptitudes. We serve the supreme, lovable, attractive personality of Godhead, who is our common source, our Father, our friend. We gather again in the evening for more singing, dancing, discussion, and prashadam. He said, what part of it is not recreational? Why would you, with a schedule like that, with a daily schedule like that, what would you, why would you go outside of that for quote unquote recreation? The fact is, there are different paths of transcendence. Krishna describes them all in the Bhagavad Gita. Maya Vasham Manoyamam Nityayukta Tesham Yuk. Of all the different paths, bhakti is the easiest and it gets you the highest result. So it has 2 virtues. The path of bhakti, simply serving the Lord. You don't have to be a big yogi. You don't have to be an ascetic. You don't have to be a big philosopher. You don't have to have any particular qualifications. Each and every one of us is a part of the Lord, and it's our right, it's our duty, it's our inheritance to serve the Lord. We can pick that up at any time. If your father has left you a legacy, you just have to show your ID and claim it. You don't have to earn it. It's already yours by birthright. So we are servants of Krishna, and that service is there. It's available if we're willing to take it. That's it. And if we do take it, we'll go all the way back to home, back to Godhead, with hardly any difficulty or any trouble. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna specifically asked Krishna, which is the easiest path and which is the path which gets you the most results? Now, one might be easier, but the harder one might get you more results. See what I'm saying? Or one might get you more results, but maybe you don't want to pay the price for those results. You want to take something easier for less result. But no, that's not the case here. Arjuna is asking, what's the easiest? And does that one and the same process get us a higher result? Krishna says, Maya Vashanomeram Nityayukta, because engaging the mind, the senses, in the service of the Lord is natural. It's the natural position of a living being. And when we're doing something natural, it's easy. It's easy. We may have to, at first, practice like a child, newborn child. You can look at that child and you can say, well, that child doesn't know how to walk. It's not true. Child does know how to walk. Child has walked in millions of previous lifetimes. Child has walked as a human being. Child has walked as a demigod. Child has walked as a monkey. Child has walked as a cow. Child has walked as a llama. The child knows how to walk. It's not true to say the child doesn't know how to walk. Child knows how to walk, but it just takes a little practice. It's not like the child is actually learning how to walk. That would be formidable. That would be difficult. But the fact is, the child already knows how to walk. He just has to remember, which is much easier. He just has to practice a little and it comes back to him very quickly. It's really just a matter of getting the muscles toned to support the weight more than anything else. So we are Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Karanaya Shavanada Sudi Cheti Karyoda. We are servants of Krishna. Constitutionally, fundamentally, we are servants of Krishna. That's who we are. And there's nothing more natural than picking up devotional service by the process, the blissful, fun process of hearing and chanting and taking prasadam and associating with devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Krishna has personally come 5,000 years ago. He appeared as the all-opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead, full with wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, strength, and renunciation. And he said, Yejam tu antikatam papam jnanam punyatedundanamuk vajanti mamdidavadham. He said, those can achieve me. This is 5,000 years ago. This is the bar. This is the standard. This is the prescription which God himself is laying out. Yejam tu antikatam papam. Those who have not committed sins in many previous lives, not only this life, but they've not committed any sins in previous life. Yejam tu antikatam. Yedwanja put those who have got a history extending back in time through previous of piety, those who have taken vows of purity, those who are distant from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, those who are saturated with transcendental knowledge and who have engaged in the devotional service of mind even in a previous life, those are the ones who are going to come back to home, back to God. Well, that's a very high bar. None of us were born in such a fortunate circumstance among family members who were devotees of the Lord. Prapya punya kutam lago mushidva. Those who have performed devotional service in their previous lives, they get to take their present birth in an aristocratic or rich Brahmano family. So what does it say about our previous lives that we took birth not in the holy place of India, but in the Western countries, where everybody eats meat, everyone chases women, everyone takes intoxicants? This is the circumstance under which each and every one of us, for the most part, with the possible exception of some of our Indian audience members there, this is where we took birth. So what does that say about our past lives? We're not in the category of yesham tu antikatam papam jnana punya karmanam. We're not pregnant with knowledge. We're not replete with piety from previous lives. We don't have any of those qualifications. And so an adjustment needed to be made from the point in time when Krishna came at a much more holy age, at the junction of the Dwarka age and the very beginning of the Kali age, when all the faults had hardly even manifested themselves, to 5,000 years later, now a major adjustment's got to be made because nobody is even close to qualifying for moksha, for liberation. And so the adjustment comes in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar. He's the devotional incarnation of Krishna. Krishna came as God with all of the opulences thereof. But he came again as Lord Chaitanya. Krishna Varnat Sitsa Krishnam Sangapagam Yagashan Yajanti Bhishamedita. In the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, it predicts that Krishna will come a Krishna in the Kali Yuga age. He'll come and he won't be black. He'll be not black. And his business will be, whereas most of the avatars of Krishna come in the Kshatriya dynasty, they come in the warrior class. Ram was in the warrior class. Krishna was in the warrior class. And they destroyed the impious elements, literally, with their weapons of the bow and arrow or the disc or the club. But in this age of Kali, where a warrior incarnation of God to come to kill all the impious, he'd have to kill everybody. There'd be no one left. There'd be, the whole world would be vacant. So in the age of Kali, the incarnation of the Lord, who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, does not come in a warrior family, Rather, he comes in a Brahmin family. Brahmins by nature are peaceful. The job description of the Brahmins is not to pick up weapons or to engage in violence. Vishwamitra, you may recall, had been a warrior, but he became a Brahmin. And when, as a Brahmin, his sacrifices were being disrupted by Tara, the demoness, he personally, although he had all military skills, because now he was a Brahmin and he was bound and obliged to act in a Brahminical fashion, which is to say nonviolent, he went and asked Dasarath for the loan of his warrior son Ram, so that Ram would come and kill the demon. Now, it's interesting to note that at that time, Ram was very young, and Ram, in his juvenile state, did not possess the ultimate weaponry with which he later confronted the Rakshasa army on Ravana. So Vishwamitra had another purpose to serve by bringing Ram to his ashram. His stated purpose to Dasharath was, I need a warrior to kill this demoness who's polluting all our sacrifices. But Krishna's purpose, the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was Vishwamitra had been a warrior and he knew all weaponry. So taking Ram into his ashram to guard against the sacrifices, and when Tara should attack to kill her, gave Vishwamitra an opportunity then to impart, to teach Ram about all celestial weaponry. Everywhere we see, if we look for it, if the door is unlocked by the descriptions of pure devotees, we will see an immediate cause, and then we'll see a remote cause. The immediate cause for Vishwamitra to bring Ram from the royal palace to this forest ashram was that he did not want to take up arms against the demoness. But Krishna's cause, in addition to that, was that Ram needed to learn weaponry from the formerly most skilled warrior on the planet. So in the same way, look, Lord Chaitanya delivered bhakti to those who are unqualified. Yanamani ad shravanirkanad yad pravanad yad shmarana sadyopi shavana kutash panate bhagavan nudarshana. The power of the name, especially when it's delivered in the Kali Yuga by Lord Chaitanya, is so great that even Kirata, Halinda, Palinda, Bakasha, Vishabhayavani, Japada, Shujanti, Tashmai, Pravavishtamaya Namaha. The name of Krishna is non-different. It's like the sun, and just as darkness cannot compete or coexist with the sun, darkness is defined as the lack of light. So where there's light, there's no darkness. Similarly, where there's the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All disqualifications, all shortcomings due to having taken birth in degraded families in this degraded age of Kali Yuga. Kalo doshe nidherajam. The Kali Yuga is described, especially now that we're 5,000 years down the road into it, as an ocean of faults. An ocean of faults. Kirtana deva Krishya mukta sangha. And yet there's one great benefit, that the chanting of the holy names, like the powerful rising of the sun, can counteract all the darkness of ignorance in this Kali Yuga age. So Lord Chaitanya, his weapon was not the razor-sharp disc, it was not the club, it was not the bow and arrow, it was not tusks as he'd used with Varaha, it was not his razor-sharp fingernails as he'd used as Nrsingadeva, it was not his axe as he'd used with Parasuram, but his weapon was the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Mahabhananaya Krishna Prema Vidayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurtsve Namaha. Lord Chaitanya is giving freely to those who have no particular qualifications. He's giving the names of the Lord. And if someone should be astute and fortunate enough to take up the process of chanting Hare Krishna delivered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he or she could be considered the best of all the Aryans. How do we know? We know because they're chanting. When they're chanting, we don't have to ask, Oh, who's their mother? Who's their father? Where were they born? What caste are they in? No, we don't ask any of those questions. Arche Vishnu Siridir Gurushu Narayam Mitir Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. Once someone takes up the process of chanting Hare Krishna, gives up sinful activities, and associates, for the most part, with devotees, then we no longer think of or describe that person in terms of their family or their education or their parents. They are transcendental to all those considerations. And in fact, someone who points to a chanter, someone who points to a devotee and says, oh yeah, he is so-and-so from such a village and the son of this father and this mother. You know what is stated about that person who describes a devotee according to birth and physical age and background, says Jata Buddhi. That person has a hellish mentality. Same person is likely to see the deity as brass or stone or marble, not seeing the all-powerful presence of the Lord in that deity which is duly installed and carved and worshipped on a daily basis. Arche Vishnu Siridir Gurushu Nara Matir Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. There's a certain level of consciousness which is permeated, dragged down, kept close to the ground by material association. One who's chanting the names of the Lord just because of his chanting and for no other reason is considered to be more than a Brahmana. He's considered to have studied all the Vedic literatures and reached the proper conclusion. Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanam. That which has taken scholars, that which has taken ascetics, many, many births, that point which takes them many, many births to arrive at, through studying hundreds and thousands of scholars, for doing hundreds and hundreds of austerities, for doing yoga lifetime after lifetime, that point, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha, to know that everything is Krishna. Krishna is the prime causer. He's behind everything. To arrive at that point, generally, for practitioners of other disciplines, takes many, 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 many births and deaths. And yet, as soon as someone, even though they're born in a median family, even though they're born in the Kali Yuga, even though they themselves may have been off the track in their earlier lives, once they adopt seriously and diligently and chant consistently the holy names of the Lord, they are considered to be more than the Vedic scholars, more than the ascetics, more than the yogis. Yoginam api sarva madgananda. Why? Because they got the lift. They got the elevator to go to the top of tallest building in the world. And when I was a kid, it was the Empire State Building. Now I think it's someplace in Dubai. You can take the stairs, to go up to the 77th, 109th floor, and it'll be very difficult. There's a danger that you may not even get to the top floor. You may get tired, you may give up, you may get discouraged, you may find something that attracts you on the 22nd floor or the 58th floor. There are any number of vulnerabilities there. There are any number of detours or any attractions along the upward staircase, which are specifically designed to keep you from getting to the top. You can take the stairs. You can ask, so why should I take the elevator? Why shouldn't I take the stairs? Well, if you're asking that, the answer is the elevator is very easy. It's so easy that you just step in it, and before you know it, without even registering that you're moving, you're on the 77th floor. Not only did you not get tired, you think you haven't gone anywhere. You think you've stepped in the elevator, the door's closed, and you think you're still on the first floor. Imagine you're surprised when the door's open and you're on the 77th floor, and you didn't even register that the elevator was ascending. So that's one thing. So easy, you don't even register the movement. It says work is matter moved a certain distance. There's a formula. Work is equal to the distance, the energy it takes to move matter a certain distance. That's the definition of work. So if you just take 3 steps into the elevator and stand there, and you're transported not laterally, which would have taken less energy, it takes more energy to go against gravity. You ascend 7784s without even the perception of it, then it's not even work. According to that equation, work equals the distance the energy it takes to move mass a certain distance. Of course, the energy is expended, but it's not taken out of your hide. It's not detracted from the overall amount of energy you have to spend. So that's one point, how easy it is. Krishna tells Arjuna, of all the different yogic disciplines, klesho dikadarashtim vyakti shakti vyakti hir deha vadviravapyate. Most other yogic practices involve a great deal of discipline, a great deal of effort, a great deal of time, often extending into multiple lifetimes. And the result is inferior. You get an inferior result. You temporarily merge into the Brahman effulgence, or become one with God, which is an unsatisfactory condition. On the other hand, the mind does not have to be repressed. The mind is naturally attracted to the beautiful threefold bending form of Kṛṣṇa on the altar there, with this enchanting Mona Lisa smile, playing a flute to his lips, peacock feather jauntily tucked in his hair. It is impossible for a mind not to be attracted to Kṛṣṇa as he exhibits his pastimes and as they're described in Vrindavan. So the process of bhakti, Krishna says, it's easy. The mind naturally flows towards Kṛṣṇa, naturally flows to the good character, to the music, the celebration, the joy of devotional service, the pure sattvic motive goodness food, which is then offered to the Lord. Everything is attractive. Just like Kunti says, the Ganges flows down to the sea. It doesn't have to think about it. It doesn't have to make a strategy. It doesn't have to make a plan. It's so natural that water goes from the heights into the ocean. Similarly, our consciousness naturally flows to Krishna's name, form, pastimes, and paraphernalia. You can hardly even resist it. Therefore, not only is it easy, but it's also very pleasurable. Rajabija, Rajagadam, Hovitamidam, Panchaksam, Susukam Kartamabhyam. It's the highest goal to achieve the lotus feet of Krishna, which yogis and ascetics and saints achieve only after many, many lifetimes. And one can achieve it within one short lifetime very easily. And it's very, very easily achieved and quickly achieved. Imagine how long it takes for you to climb the stairs and how many opportunities there are to get waylaid as you climb from floor to floor to floor to floor to floor. Remember, it gets better. Every floor gets better. So at some point you might think, this is good enough for me. I don't have to go any further. I can't imagine anything better than this. Maybe the upper floors are going to give me less than this floor. This is more than I could ever dreamed of. I'm good here. And you get stuck. And you get stuck. So bhakti is quick, effortless, easy, and completely natural. But there's a condition. We have to be sincere. We have to try to improve our chanting so that it goes from the offensive stage, at least to the marginal stage, where sometimes we're chanting offenselessly. There's the offensive stage and there's the offenseless stage, and then there's a stage in the middle where sometimes we're chanting offensively and sometimes we're chanting offenselessly. So we have to increase the offenseless chanting and decrease the offensive chanting. And for that, you need to muster up all the sincerity that you have. But if you chant and if you keep moving forward with sincerity, Prabhupada said, chant heartfeltedly as a child cries for the mother. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before you know, quicker than you register, the door will open up. You won't even know that you're moving. You won't even know how transformed you become, how far removed you are from the average Joe, the ordinary people. One day, sooner than you think, that door will open up and you're in the spiritual world. Chintamani pakara sadmashu kalpavriksha laksha vritu surabhiya palanti lakshmi sahas sadbrahmaseva govinamari purusham tamaham vijami. That world where everything's made of touchstone, where the cows can give unlimited quantities of milk, the trees are wish-fulfilling desire trees, kalpavrikshas, and where there are not one or two, but millions and millions of goddess of fortunes who cannot leave Krishna's lotus feet, who cannot leave that environment even for a moment. The Krishna consciousness process, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has tailor-made for this age of Kali. Kali subhantya vyagya sarvashataras yata kirtanam. It is said that the age of Kali, with all of its faults, offers this one advantage, that within one short lifetime and without any previous qualifications, you can go back home, back to Godhead, just by chanting Hare Krishna. So that one benefit, which is inbuilt in the age of Kali, is so great that it says even demigods wish they could take their births on the earth planet, to take advantage of the chanting of Hare Krishna, which has special potency, and to get on the elevator, the very fast and easy and painless and quick, natural process to go back home, back to God. This is the gift of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Someone might ask, well, how come, what motivated Lord Chaitanya to make the highest goal, the summum bonum, so easily available? Well, first thing is, it's Kali Yuga, so people are lazy, misguided, very short-lived, not very intelligent. So the number of people that will actually take what is freely given, take this jewel-like gift, which is freely given, is going to be much less, because there's no brain substance left in the Kali Yuga. No one even has the brain to take the greatest gift. Prabhupada said, if you're giving out diamonds on the street, not many people will take them, because people automatically think they're fake. They say, who gives out diamonds on the street? Nobody. So it must be glass. It must be fake. So everything is fake. Everything is duplicitous. Everything is false. Everything is show. Everything is pretense in this Kali Yuga age. And people have been so habituated. They're so used to seeing everything as being false and fabricated and artificial, that when in all of that you give them bhakti, just free for the taking, all you have to do is sing and dance and feast and chant Hare Krishna, not too many people will take it. Not too many people will take it. That's a reason Lord Chaitanya's not even, you can sell something valuable for a high price, because it's worth it. But if people don't realize the value of it, then you lower your price. And if people even then don't want it, then you give it away for free. The example is given, the whole law of mercantilism means that if there's a commodity which is scarce in one place and in abundance in another place, the businessman will figure out how to transport the commodity, which is in abundance and not worth much, to a place where it's scarce and therefore it's worth a lot of money. That's how businessmen make profit, the law of supply and demand. However, imagine something being scarce in an area and abundant in another area. And imagine the place of abundance is the spiritual world, The commodity is love of God. The place where it is scarce is in this material world. Our Father in heaven, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The difference between the spiritual world and the material world is that in the material world, God's will is not done, and in the spiritual world, his will is done. So you take bhakti, love of God, from the world where God's will is done. You take it to the world where God's will is not done, and you think you should have a hit there. You should make $1 million automatically. You think that would be the winning formula. But the problem is people are so, love of God is so scarce as to be virtually unknown. And the problem is that although there's none of it there and it's desperately needed, nobody acknowledges that they need it. There is no demand. Usually where there's scarcity, there's a demand. But the anomaly of this age is there's scarcity of love of God, but there's also no demand for it either. People are totally distracted by the glitter. And so when Lord Chaitanya brings his cargo of love of God from a place where it exists abundantly to a place where it doesn't exist at all, there's a problem that it sits at the dark. He can't sell it for what it's worth. He lowers the price. He still can't find any buyers. Then he has to give it away. And even then, it is said, Krishna Vaniti Sangaparam Yaga Shankara Yajanti Pishu Medisha. Only those people in this degraded Kali Yuga age who are gifted with superior brain substance. And that doesn't necessarily mean that devotees are of higher IQ or better educated people. You get gifted by the spiritual master. You get gifted by meeting a spiritual master who gives you good fortune, who gives you brain power, who gives you the qualities that you need so you can recognize the great commodity which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is freely giving away. And therefore, Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Premabhadaya to Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaurachari. That which was achieved through great effort, discipline, throughout the course of many lifetimes. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just on the street, passing it out to those few who will be fortunate enough to accept it. Therefore, Rupa Goswami said, of all the incarnations of God, and there are millions and millions and millions and millions of avatars of God, there is none more merciful than Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's not killing anybody. He's not filtering anybody for their qualifications. He says, Yare deke tare koho Krishna Upadesh Agnar Aya tare desh. Stan patra pata vijahi nahi stanishtan. He's not considering qualifications, who's qualified, who's unqualified. He's not considering, is this a right circumstance? Is this a right place? Or is this a wrong place? He's just plundering the warehouse of love of God, passing it out indiscriminately to anyone who should be fortunate enough to take it up. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Those are our thoughts for this Monday morning. John Malik, first one, as I mentioned, Vaishnavi, jumped on secondary, Govinda Dev by Bobby. Brent, meet the crocodile with a smile, accept your fate. The Vaishnav trait is to not retaliate. Beautiful. Jewel like 2 sentences there. Meet the crocodile with a smile, accept your fate. The Vaishnav trait is not to retaliate. Anjali, she says, pranams, postman true. Vaibhavi, Natasha, Hare Krishna. Anjali says, Krishna has a 4-point program to live your best life now. Or live your best life now. Another rhyme from Brent, there's no cessation to transcendental recreation. You know what these tell me? It tells me that you're actually listening to the talk and getting the essence. Sundari Priya, all glories of Prabhupada. Lakshmi Nrsimha. I don't know if you got my answers, those questions you asked last week about defending yourself, how valid is self-defense, and the other question you asked about pets, how attractive should we be to our pets. If you go, I think Wednesday, I sort of did my humble best to give some response to those two queries of yours. Lakshmi Nrsimha tells us that he borrowed our dodgeball analogy last night at a program. He hopes we don't mind. You're a treasure chest full of gems of wisdom that thieves like me may nip. Nip away. Nip away. That's what it's all about. Lord Chaitanya is a thief. He plundered the warehouse of love of God, just like Kṛṣṇa plundered the butter and the yogurt that's hanging from the pots, and he gave it to the monkeys. So Lord Chaitanya plundered the treasure house of love of God and gave it to the monkeys of Kali Yuga. So yeah, go ahead and steal. It's directly sanctioned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anjali says work equals movement plus distance. So basically work, leverage, that's what we have. Yeah. We can achieve the ultimate that there is to achieve in life by the leverage that God himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, gives. The Hare Krishna mantra achieves its potency because it's delivered directly by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that gives you the leverage to traverse what normally would take lifetimes and lifetimes of discipline and practice to come to the highest point. It is only due to the leverage that is provided by Krishna in his form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Again, Brent says, just as a child by practice remembers how to walk, Gajendra recalled the Lord when bitten by the croc. Beautiful. You're really spot on today, Brent. Very nice. Here's something else Lakshmi's sharing with us, a story that the boatman's son wants to become a yogi, so he disappears to the Himalayas and practices years of austerities and develops mystic powers. Many years later, he visits his father and shows him his mystic ability to walk on water. His father, a simple man, says, all those years to walk on water? For a few paisa, I could have rowed you across. That's the value of efforts of mystic power. Long, sustained practice and very little results. Something equal to a boat ride across the river, which you'd pay the ferryman a few pennies for. Priya Krishna extending into his third week, consistently jumping on board here. In New York, it must be 9:30 in the morning by the time we start. Okay. Yes, Anjali sums everything up by saying, it is only leverage given a Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Well put. And now, Rob, are you still there? Can you share some of your nuggets with us to end things out here on this Motivational Monday?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribo.
All right. As water is cleaned by rain, bhakti cleans the brain.
Nice.
Bhakti is the easiest and the best, head and shoulders above the rest.
Very simple and so true.
All we have to do to remember is blow on our bhakti ember. It is factual that bhakti is natural.
Fantastic.
In just one life, bhakti can end your strife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bhakti is nonstop to the top.
Gosh, that's beautiful.
If you are sincere, bhakti will get you there.
Prabhupada said eloquence is brevity. You know, it's not necessarily eloquent to, have all these flower words and big complicated. He says eloquence is brevity. So bhakti takes you to the top, is eloquent.
Yeah, bhakti is nonstop to the top.
Non-stop to the top, even better.
If you are sincere, bhakti will get you there.
Mm-hmm.
To escape Kali, all you need is bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
Many won't take, thinking it's fake.
Oh, good.
Hare
Good.
Krishna.
Wow. I get such a good warm feeling getting all this feedback. Because it's one thing to just expound. It's one thing to have one person kind of holding forth for 45 minutes. But when you all come on board and give it back to me, filtered through your own realizations and your own poetic expression, it really is, it's been a discussion. It's been uh, a combined effort amongst all of us because we've all put our efforts into understanding and expressing in our own ways. So I really get goosebumps when I read the poetry on Facebook and when I hear Rob too. I think this is a great partnership that we're in, and I'm excited to continue it. Therefore, I will see you 23 hours from now, Transcendental Tuesday. Meantime, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.